Good evening, bro.
How are you?
How are you, my man?
Cannot complain, dude. Cannot complain.
Heck yeah,
Busy as hell,
man.
but cannot complain.
So, real quick, people don't even know you and we work together. They think that we just we social through the social media and whatnot, but we actually work together. On different
100%.
different topics and stuff like that, and some task force stuff. So yeah, man. Give us a quick background. Who are you? What do you do? For those that don't know you, don't follow you, tell us who you are, brother.
Victor Galarza, Detective Sergeant. I work in an agency in Southwest Colorado. The Four Corners is my region. I'm a TFO with the DEA, and I've been teaching about the Mexican transnational criminal groups. Some people call them cartels, quote unquote, which I've gotten away from completely. For the last 11 years. 11 years. Born and raised in Mexico City, arrived in the United States as a Mexican diplomat, first bearing G1 diplomatic status in Chicago, Illinois, and later an A1 diplomatic status in Washington, D.C., your hometown.
Yeah, that's me, man. Hometown, D.C.
Yeah, we actually spent a lot of time there. Love D.C. In fact, I miss Georgetown for sure. Eventually arrived in Colorado as a business owner, started a very successful bar restaurant business in Durango, Colorado. I think we were selling like $1.6 million a year at that point in time. But that cost me my first marriage, and the undersheriff for the agency that I'm in right now kind of knew my background, training with the Mexican Army, the Mexican Navy, the Presidential Security Service, now disbanded in Mexico. And he told me, like, you know what, Victor, we've never had any real operations against the Mexican cartels.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'm actually going to the police academy. I'll join. And right away, I was thrown into interdiction, just about. And I've been here, God, almost now going on 14 and a half years. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That's
One
awesome,
agency.
man.
One agency.
So you talked about a little bit about the visas that you have. Can you dibble and dabble a little bit about that on your background? Like, how does that work? How does that allow you to still work law enforcement? Kind of, I guess, still holding citizenship, so to speak, in one country and in multiple countries. Like, how does that still work for
So
you?
no, I actually don't.
No? Okay.
I actually don't. I surrendered my diplomatic status before I became a legal, and I'll rephrase that, legal temporary resident, and eventually, became a permanent resident, and eventually became a U.S. citizen by choice. Best choice I've ever done in life, hands down.
Heck yeah.
In fact, I hold obviously my flag, which you see right behind me, very dear to me, and that's one of the reasons why I got into law enforcement. I had a little bit of knowledge that your normal police officer does not have, and so I joined the fight. I joined the fight against these groups that are literally trying to take over our great country. So that's what I'm doing.
Heck yeah, man. No, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I had a question when I first met you about that, and you just dived in a little bit deeper. So I know some people probably have some questions about that. So I just wanted to kind of clear the air on that. And that's awesome, man. Julian, oh, my camera just jumped. Julian is actually an illegal, so I'll be working on getting him out of the country tomorrow when I go back to work. So Julian, watch out. I'm coming for you, bro.
He's gonna fucking throw a torta at you, dude.
He probably would, bro.
And I'm not talking about the sandwich either.
Oh, Julian, man. Gotta love him, dude. That's hella funny, man. So what drew you, from studying what you do and your background to kind of, confronting cartel culture instead of, staying on a more traditional patrol side of what, most traditional cops understand? What drew you to your background and wanted to study that a little bit more?
So in reality, I've been studying this for since even before I became a law enforcement officer, obviously. But when I got into the highways and I started getting started getting lucky, dope here, dope there, dope here, dope there, and people started asking me how the hell are you doing this? Are you doing any advanced training? Are you doing anything, any LPRs? Dude, at that point in time, down at the reservation, I'm talking about down by Toyak, fucking, you're lucky if you get radio,
Yeah,
and let
dude.
alone backup at a less than 20 minutes, right? And so what I was doing, how I was doing it, I was just looking at the culture. After I have picked my targets, and you guys talk about that, and I'm not even going to get into that because that's your expertise. You can talk much better to that than I can, but yeah, I was looking at the behaviors, and the behaviors were there. I conducted a legal traffic stop, and I looked for the behaviors. And I looked for what I called narcocultura, the subcriminal culture that emanates from Mexico on any actual criminal group. And today in Mexico, we called carteles, we called the 300 to 800 regional mafias, transnational groups, DTOs, street gangs, foreign terrorist organization, and significant transnational criminal groups. All of those are actual cartels. So narcocultura is implemented by all these criminal groups. And that's solely what I was looking at. And I just started getting lucky. And the one group that I ended up investigating the most, even at a federal level, even not being a TFO, I was able to present this to the United States Attorney's Office in Durango when the office was, and they took my cases. They started taking my cases. And the group that I confronted the most at that point in time was Los Zetas Cartel, which no longer is in existence. But little by little, people started knowing my name and then started asking me, "Can you teach? Can you show us this? Can you show us that?" And I started with I think it was a 4-hour class. And you've been to my class.
Yep.
Julian's been to my class, and 4 hours ain't shit.
No.
And so eventually that 4 hours became a day. And then after a day, I started getting invited to conferences. And this is now 13 years ago because I started teaching conference literally as a puppy cop. And now I'm teaching worldwide, literally worldwide.
Yeah, and we were just talking before we went live. You're going to Canada here coming up soon.
Going to Canada. I was in Eastern Europe last year teaching every single drug task force in Eastern Europe, not including I should say, Interpol, Europol, the UN Office of Drug and Crime, the DEA. Was one ambassador and her staff there from the United States. I mean, there were so many people, not even funny, including the deputy director for DEA Special Ops.
Hell yeah, man.
So,
And like before I started going to, or starting even getting deep into interdiction, I started finding out, like cartels wasn't just in the US. Cartels are, across this world, this earth. They're everywhere. They're not just solely based here in the US. So you talked a little bit about your class. In regards to your class, like without going too deep, and I know you're doing a 4-day class, what are some of the topics that you cover? What do you try to preach and educate officers on? Because there's a lot of misconceptions. I know you see messages, on in your group that I'm in, but I also get messages from officers. Oh my God, I saw La Santa Muerte, Jesus Malverde. They got to be cartel. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like what do you teach in your class? What do you try to educate? Like what's the purpose of your class? Why do you teach? You know what I mean?
there's two major points that I cover in my class, two major goals. One is for not just law enforcement officers, but government officials. I've trained literally in United States Congress. And based on my classes, the HIDA budget rose to, at that point in time, $288 million.
Yeah.
The purpose for my class is to show and help people understand who the fight is against, and for law enforcement officers, help them identify possible signs of activity. That is the two major points that my class covers, and it covers in 4 days. So, in fact, I was thinking here with this next year, actually put it into 5 days, but logistically speaking, is kind of hard, as you know.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of agencies, man, they're short staffed. It's hard to send bodies away for even 2 days in a lot of cases. A lot of
Yeah,
people ask me all the
yeah,
time, "Hey, is manager class a 1 day or 2 day?" I was like, I try to do a 1 day. There's some classes I have coming up, for next year that I'm doing a 2 day. But in the grand scheme of things, it's so hard for a lot of smaller agencies to send a body, let alone 3 or 4 bodies away for 2 or 3 days. That whole shift is shorthanded. So that goes a lot into like that. But what you do, like you talked about your class being originally was a 4 hour class. That is not even enough, man. Like you're barely scraping the surface in your class. And
I think that's my introduction nowadays. To be honest,
yeah,
I
yeah,
kid you
dude.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your class is really in depth. It's changed my view on stuff. I still hit seizures, and to this day, like I still send you stuff. I sent you
yeah,
some stuff just recently.
yeah, yeah.
Marijuana load that I had, and but there was all the signs and the hats and stuff like that, and I sent it to you, or I think Jared sent it to you. We were trying to figure out like what did these things mean. Like, how can we,
Yeah.
place these individuals across the country, and without you even seeing their IDs, knowing their names, you were able to like pinpoint what part of the region they were truly from, and because we had their IDs. And what you teach, man, is just really spot on. I think it's just really beneficial for a lot of officers to understand that just looking for like this craziness that was taught in older schools or classes, Jesus Malverde, La Santa Muerte and all this stuff, and you see this stuff and they're cartel, and it's like you go to your class and you leave there like there's a lot more to it than just someone being in a
Hundred
cartel.
percent.
Yeah.
100%. The one that I hear the most, and personally, it's almost insulting. Especially you're a Roman Catholic, just like I am.
Yep.
I went to the Vatican 3 months ago after I went to teach in Eastern Europe,
Okay.
and I wanted to do a pilgrimage. One of the pilgrimage that I wanted to do was going to the Vatican because it's the Jubilee year. Jubilee only happens every 25 years, and it's when a Roman Catholic can walk in through this Porta Santa, this holy door that the Pope opens himself, and you walk in, and all of your sins are sponged. That's one of the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But the other one, the most principal one, is that I wanted to go into St. Peter's Basilica to visit my patron saint. In fact,
Got it with you. Yep.
St. Jude, San Judas Tadeo. And I can't tell you how many times people, I just came back from Arizona, and my God, it was a great class. These people get it because they're the tip of the spear. They're right there.
Yeah.
But just like everyone in the country, they have been taught that document all religious icons. I've even seen it on a federal document issued by a three-letter agency, which I'm not going to mention.
Yeah.
But in this document, it says document all religious icons. Well, good luck with that, because just alone with the Roman Catholic patron saints, there's over 10,000 of them. And you're telling an officer to document religious icons. Why exactly? Because I'm pretty sure that we are all defending the Constitution of the United States. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
remind you that we have the right and the freedom of religion. That's what built this country at one point in time. Pilgrims came to this country for the freedom of religion. And so when you're telling an officer document all religious icons, because 80% of the vehicles coming in from Mexico have a rosary around the rearview mirror, dude, really? Are we really doing this? And in our own district here, the 10th district of appellate court district, they came up with United States versus Copete Medina, right, at the appellate court. And that said, it's very simple. I always suggest that people read that before they even come to my class. Before they even step a foot in my class, they need to read that. Because it very clearly says that our training and our experience as law enforcement officers has become biased. Because, again, they see La Santa Muerte, Jesús Malverde, Santería, Paloma y Hombre, El Legua, Jesús Malverde, Saint Jude, San Simon, all these religious icons. They don't even know what they are. And automatically, it must be cartel. I even asked a dude not too long ago in another place I'm not gonna mention, like, what have they been teaching you about Saint Jude, my patron
Mine
saint
too.
of police officers,
Yep.
patron saint of difficult circumstances, lost causes, the Chicago Police Department, and Mexico City. What have they been teaching you about that? Like, oh yeah, if it changes hands, if its staff changes from one side to the other, it's cartel. And I was like, okay. And which cartel is that? Like, oh well, a Mexican cartel. What about an Italian? Can an Italian have St. Jude and not be cartel? Well, this is just for Mexicans. And I was like, whoa, listen to what you're saying. Now you're not just going after religion, but now you're mentioning race. See, it's insane to me. It really is.
Yeah.
I tell people that come to my class, and just alone to clarify the quote unquote narco saints, I have a collection of 1,500 items that I bring with me to every single class. I don't cut corners, and that alone takes me a day to explain in detail. And I even graph some of these icons that I use and put the different shrines around the room to get rid of that bias, to show them exactly what they're looking at. Because the one thing that everybody says, and because they have no idea what they're talking about, is they're using for protection. Incorrect. Each patron saint and each folk saint has very specific patronages, and those patronages are used by people don't understand our religion, the Roman Catholic belief, and they think that we're praying to an actual saint, which we're not. We're praying to God through the patron saint. The patron saint
Yes.
represents the mighty power of God here on earth, and we use this to communicate with God, whatever we're seeking based on His patronage. In this case, Saint Jude for me, is it a difficult circumstance to be a police officer today? Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Uh, is it a difficult circumstance to be an immigrant? Yes, it is. Is it a difficult circumstance? At one point in time, I was a restaurant owner, to be a restaurant owner. Imagine being COVID-19 and having a restaurant. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Hard work.
And of course, the patron saint of police. And I'm from
Saint
Mexico
Michael.
City, patron saint of Mexico City. So,
So
so that
and you just brought it up too, like Saint Michael, like for police officers, like for officers that may not like fully grasp or understand kind of what you're talking about. Yep, perfect. How do you like correlate? Give an example for the viewers, for like those that are talking about like Saint Michael. That is, for multiple purposes. We pray to Saint Michael as well for like paratroopers, but Saint
yes,
Michael
military.
also. Yep. I'm good old airborne.
Yep,
Got my little airborne tattoo.
yep,
Yeah. So we paid
yep.
this. We played to Saint Michael for multiple reasons. So can you give like some of the viewers some understanding, like just a better understanding of like Saint Michael, so that they can have a better understanding to compare that to like Saint Jude, to what you were just talking about?
Well, Saint Michael, first of all, Saint Michael is an angel, right? He's an
Mm-hmm.
archangel. However, culturally speaking, culturally meaning the Roman Catholic belief, we have named him a saint or Saint Michael. A saint, an actual Roman Catholic patron saint, had to be a real person, had to die, had to do a miracle, had to die as a martyr, and then had to basically be canonized by the Holy Roman Catholic Church. That is a patron saint. Saint Michael is not a saint because he is not a person. He was never a person. He is an archangel. And his patronages are for specifically for protection and assistance, and is done with people that are going through a battle against evil. And hence, that's why he is got his, where is it?
Other way. Yep. Perfect.
He's got his foot on the devil. That's our battle that we do as law enforcement officers, as military. We fight the demons that are out there preying the innocent at night. So that's part of his patronage. Just like every Roman Catholic patron saint, they all have very specific patronages for their for their followers. Like I said, Saint Jude, Mexico City, difficult circumstances, lost causes, the police, and obviously the Chicago Police Department.
Yeah. So with your background, what kind of advice would you give the officers that are going out there, contacts, traffic stops, calls of service, and they're seeing this type of these artifacts or these saints, and they're seeing some of these medallions and necklaces and lanyards? What do you recommend officers do when they see this stuff? Like, when do
Ignore
these things become important? You know what I mean?
ignore them. Ignore them. So the classes that I teach are not just for investigators, detectives, the narcotics, for interdiction, it's for normal patrol people, it's for SROs, it's for anyone that might have contact with a Mexican national. This is very specific to the Mexican subcriminal culture. But at the same time, in order for me to show people the Mexican subcriminal culture, I have to show them normal Mexican culture, because we face this all the time. We know, as police officers, as Americans, we know what a gangbanger looks like in the corner. We know what a blood in a crypt. We've seen the movies. We know what they look like. Some of us have lived in these neighborhoods. We know what they look like. But when we talk about a cartel member, what do they look like? People don't understand that this subcriminal culture has their own aspects, their own beliefs, their own semi-quasi followings, their clothing, their attire, their colors, so on and so forth. And what I teach also is how to identify these people. And I have a list here that I'm going to read to you. How do you
Yeah, go ahead.
identify members of an actual criminal group? This is any criminal group. How many factors do you need to be positively identify someone as a member of a criminal group? Well, you need self-proclamation. You need witness testimony or official statements. You need paraphernalia of alliance, tattoos, clothing and colors, and any other indica of alliance to a criminal group. That is how we can identify someone as being a member of a criminal group. And you can use this for gangbangers. You can use this for one percenters. You can use this for any criminal group in existence in the United States. In Colorado, we need 3 factors to identify someone as a member of a criminal group. In Arizona, you need 2. I'm not sure about in New Mexico. I'm pretty sure it's 3 as well. And it varies throughout the nation.
Right.
But I like to call it at least 3. And to give you a better example where people can understand this is when you start growing feathers, when you start growing wings and you start quacking, well, shit, you must be a duck, right? So that's how we identify someone to say he is a member of an actual criminal group. Now, the problem when it comes to and this is why I don't do any classes like on demand, because this changes really quickly. So I mentioned that we have between 300 and 800 regional mafias, transnational groups, DTOs, MTCOs, significant drug trafficking organizations, and foreign terrorist organizations operating throughout the world, including here in the United States. In fact, these groups from Mexico operate in all 50 states. All 50 states. And what gives them the most power if they will work with any group that is willing to work with them and will help them make a buck. Any group. Back in my days, pushing a patrol car, I pulled over a vehicle from Arizona, Zetas Cartel member in the back, with a bunch of heroin, the most heroin we have ever seen until that day here in Montezuma County. And the front passenger, underneath his wife beater had white power and tattooed across his chest. So they'll work with anyone and everything. So how can we identify these groups if they continue to splinter? We have something that's called the kingpin approach, and there's 2 things. There's an American kingpin approach and there's a Mexican kingpin approach. The American kingpin approach comes before the DEA. At that point in time, there was no real clear mission on how to combat these groups, these larger drug trafficking groups, not just from Mexico, but from around the world. And so this agency figured what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the soft body of the organization. We're going to focus on the manufacturing and the production, the transportation, the finance, and by hitting the soft body of this organization, eventually the head would crash. The Mexican side was literal. We're gonna go after the leadership, and once we destroy the leadership, we cut the head out of the snake, the body will die, and that was the problem then, because they just multiplied exponentially. So now you have groups, kind of like, as I mentioned, I used to combat the Zetas cartel right here, and now that group no longer exists. Another two groups emanating from the destruction of the Zetas cartel, just like the Sinaloa organization. I keep on hearing from government officials at the very top to police officers in the field. Oh yeah, it's Sinaloa cartel. Well, sorry, but the Sinaloa cartel no longer exists. Period. What makes an organization? What makes an actual group, a group of criminals, which we call an organization? Leadership. Once you start having different leadership, different business models, different SOPs, different rules, regulations, yes, ladies and gentlemen, they do have these. Then we're talking about completely different groups. And out of the destruction of the Sinaloa organization, now we have three groups emanating from that. La Chapiza, incorrectly called Los Chapitos. Los Chapitos refers to the leadership of La Chapiza. These are the sons of El Chapo Guzman. Then we have La Malliza, incorrectly called Los Mayos, because Los Mayos is an actual sicario group inside that group. That group is controlled by Mayito Flaco, the son of El Mayo Zambada. And then last, La Guaniza, the group that's led by El Guano, who is the brother of El Chapo Guzman. This is part of the class. This is me explaining to you in detail exactly who we're fighting.
So, do you think the media is messing up some of these names and groups, or where do you think the disconnect is?
So when the DEA approached me, the actual Office of Congressional Affairs and Public Affairs, the plan is to come up for me to help them come up with a coincide way to actually explain this fight to the general public, and that comes from teaching the higher ups all the way to the bottom. But yes, there's
Yeah.
a big disconnect between the higher ups and the middle and the press, and everybody just rolls in with the same crap that everybody says, like, oh yeah, Sinaloa. Well, they just keep on saying Sinaloa, Sinaloa, Sinaloa. No, in fact, it no longer exists. And what happens for us investigators? Why is this important? Because when we take this to an attorney, when we take this to higher up for prosecution, who are we actually charging for conspiracy with? Mm-hmm. If we're charging somebody that no longer exists, well, then what's the point? And when officers in interdiction, when officers in patrol, when officers, SROs, anyone that's out in the field, when they conduct an investigation and that investigation comes down the pipe, it's all about the bigger fish. And so if we don't know who that bigger fish is, if we don't understand who that bigger fish is, we are never going to get anywhere, period.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. And that's right. And I think, and what you do and what you preach is a big part, and it helps the interdiction community because, when I first got into interdiction, a lot of stuff we just talked about, that's what I was taught. Now, whether the person who teaching me or not was right or wrong, which obviously now hindsight 2020, I learned a lot of stuff was the wrong way because they probably learned it from someone else and it just been taught, passed down, cultured, or kind of like pass the pass in the background. But I feel like you have a big seat because you go back to Mexico quite a bit, right?
All the time.
All the time. Yeah, I'm always following you. I see. We talk personally.
Let's not talk about that.
You're good. No, you're good, man. So with that being said, I feel like you have a front seat to the cartel culture, right? So what does
I'll,
that
I'll, I'll
mean?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you a front seat about the cartel culture.
Yeah.
So I just taught this class in Arizona. It was in partnership with Arizona HIDA, partnership with ANOA, the Arizona Narcotics Officers Association, and we went down there to Phoenix. And I was teaching people from South Carolina, Idaho, California, obviously just about everywhere in Arizona. Packed class. We actually barely had enough space in the class at the training center. But after the class, in the concert hall, I said the concert field, I guess you could call it, there at the actual casino,
Mm-hmm.
there was an actual concert. And the concert, and yeah, the music, the music itself, it's like you and I listen to Biggie Smalls or Tupac Shakur, right? Are we gangsters just because we've listened to that music? No, we're not. We're gangsters because we're gangsters. We're enjoying that music because we enjoy that music, right?
Yeah.
It's where we grew up. And so just by listening to these corridos, which erroneously people call narco corridos is a thing of the past. That no longer, well, that music still plays, but what's in real fashion is called corridos bélicos and corridos tumbados. Two different types of music. One has a more kind of like a little aggressive side to it, and the other one has more of a hip hop side to it. And the biggest thing about this music is the influencers. When DEA Special Ops called me and like, hey, Victor, we need to focus our fight. We want to focus our fight, specifically us, against the influencers of as he called it, the Sinaloa cartel. Well, now you know it's not the Sinaloa cartel. It's, in this case, La Chapiza. And so one of the names that I actually threw out there for them is known as Marquito Toys. Marquito Toys, you can look him up in the web. He is a huge influencer specifically for La Chapiza, huge supporter. And not only a huge supporter for them, but he's also involved in the sale, distribution, and manufacturing of what we call dirty 30s, fentanyl pills, M30s, fentanyl pills, counterfeit Oxy 30 fentanyl pills. Just alone in their territory in 2022, and territory is called Los Mochis. Los Mochis in Sinaloa, part of the mountain part of Sinaloa. 900 million pills came out of just that one town. Just that one town, Nick. That's how powerful this group is.
Yeah.
And so he's one of the biggest influencers. And right after I said that, 2 months later, they jack his American visa. Good job, State Department. And so because he couldn't be in that concert, all of a sudden on the screen, boom, Marquito Toys live from Sinaloa. Hey, everyone, for La Finiquera in Narcocultura, just about every city, every major hub of distribution has a nickname or a code sign. This is for us investigators and even people on the road. This is what we look at in, let's say, ledgers, in documents, in faxes, and emails, and phones. This is what we look at. This is how I helped you guys out in many different investigations. Yeah. And so these are the code signs for that are in Narcocultura. So he gets up like, to my friends of La Finiquera, here's Marquito Toys, big supporter, hells yeah, go. Right there on the screen in the United States. But that wasn't even the biggest thing. The concert on Saturday it was called Belico Fest. And yes, just about every Mexican in Arizona was there, including me. And guess what everybody was wearing? Crucifix, St. Jude, La Santa Muerte, Christ on the cross, and a big old. Did I pay any attention to any of that? Zero. No. It was until I saw somebody and I put it on my group, which my group is only available. You're part of my group, yep. But it's only available to people that actually have attended my class. And you see that picture there. Yep. The dude walks in right in front of me, smack in front of me, blocking my view, son of a bitch. And he's sporting not only a hat, but tennis shoes and another pin in front of his jeans, which is a cartoon that probably your kids watch, which is the Rugrats.
Yeah.
Am I right? Have your kids watched the Rugrats?
No, they haven't. But I know what you're talking about. No, they haven't. Maybe my daughter, but probably not.
Your daughter?
Maybe.
What people lack to understand is that these indica, what I mentioned, these indica of alliance to a group, it could be as small as a pin or it could be on your face, right? And that's what I look like at. Because this guy, as he sits there, as he stands in front of me, he's claiming indica of alliance to a group known as Los Rugrats. Yes, just like the cartoon. In fact, one of his Rugrats had an AK-47 like this, holding an AK-47 like this. The Rugrats are a member of La Magisa. And not only are they a Sicario group, but they're also involved in Phoenix in the sale and distribution of methamphetamine, cocaine, you name it, they do everything. In fact, they're fighting in Sonora for the control of the border right up there. So it's knowing the indica of alliance, those messages that they give you, those codes that they give you. They're telling you, this is who I am. This is what I do. There was another dude at the concert. Thank God I actually paid the $250 VIP ticket. I couldn't find backstage tickets, but hey, it is what it is. But as this group gets up there, and it's called Clave Especial, this group that plays normal music most of the time, but he goes up there and starts saying, hey, for my people of Guerrero, narco state. For my people in Michoacan, narco state. For the people in Tamaulipas, narco state. For the people in Jalisco, narco state. For the people in Baja California del Norte, narco state. For my people in Sonora, narco state. This goes out to las cuatro letras and starts fucking playing the song that got another group take their visa taken to come and actually play here. Yeah. So las cuatro letras, this is their actual hand sign right here. This is las cuatro letras, the four letters, C, J, and G. So when someone throws me that, shows me indica of alliance, that's what I'm looking for. That's how you identify someone.
Not by what they're wearing, what they're displaying. Because
not by St. Jude, not by La Santa Muerte, but if you're showing me a pin, right? If you're showing me that code sign, that code word that actually tells me that you are, and I find three things, I have identified you positively as a possible member of these groups. That's Victor, what I look for.
I love it, bro. I love it. Now, you and I, because I know you, I work with you as well. You know, and you schooled me even through the years, bro. I've known you for years, man. You've always given me great knowledge in this aspect. What recommendations would you give to an officer, these patrol officers that are watching, some interdiction officers that are watching? Because I get the question, and I know you get the question, how and when should I document this stuff in my report, and how should I testify to it? Because, you know, I tell a lot of officers, and listen, I am not an expert in this matter of this field such as you are, but I always tell officers, look, don't put this stuff in your report. If you cannot get on the stand and tell the judge, the jury, you know, the prosecutor, the defense, how this stuff is 100% relatable to criminal activity, because millions of people across the world pray to this stuff. You know what I mean? So what advice would you give to officers that are out there that are seeing this stuff, you know, that work in high Hispanic cultures or communities, rather? I'm sorry. What advice would you give to them? What do you put in your report? What do you testify to it? Obviously, they need to get in your class, because I've been in your class a couple times and I'm still not even comfortable putting that stuff in my report. I stick to the facts that I can testify to, you know, but I'm always trying to have an understanding for when I see it. You know what I mean?
So these symbols, you can testify on the use of symbols like the Rugrats. When these symbols have been hijacked for a specific purpose to show signs of alliance, you can use that, but you cannot use religion. Religion, if you see someone with a Santa Muerte, if you see somebody with San Malverde, if you see something, do not document them, let alone fucking collect them. Right? I have people literally collecting them, or doing the trophy picture with a dope and then the saint on top. That's incorrect. But let me show you something.
No, and that's a great point why you do that because, like you, I'm in also other interdiction groups, and I see this too. Oh yeah, this guy had a La Santa Muerte, and like you said, they have the dope stack with the La Santa Muerte, and this is like, well, that's still discoverable evidence. Number one. Number two,
Yes.
even your trophy shots, and that's one thing that we do. With my team, when we do our trophy shots, we put them in discovery. When I have people
Yep.
holding the dope, holding the money, it's in my
Yep.
discovery. So if you're doing
Yep.
trophy shots and you're not putting them in your discovery, you might want to think
Yep.
about that.
Yeah. So what do you see here?
A parrot. Is that a parrot?
Yeah, a parrot.
Yeah,
right?
parrot.
By itself, anyone can fucking own a parrot, right?
Yeah.
So the hijacking of symbols. This could be a hijack symbol. This could be a hijack symbol.
Rooster. Yep.
And this could be a hijack symbol.
Is that Julian? No.
It looks a little bit. He's got the same beard, I think.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill us.
I know.
But yes, the nanny goat, right?
Yep.
You put all those three together, and there's something that's called los tres animales, the three animals. And they represent the narcocultura. They represent, where are you? Cocaine.
Yep.
Cocaine. For the longest time, this represented marijuana and now represents methamphetamine. And the nanny goat represents heroin. But there's always two sides to this coin. Because, for example, the rooster is not just methamphetamine and marijuana. It's also a fighter, a symbol for a fighter in Mexico. It's also a symbol for a singer in Mexico. So there's various different meanings that you can actually associate with this. So how I teach, how I actually read federal reports for these people coming to my classes. Federal reports that during the conviction phase, the AUSA has gone up there and said, this man represented himself with X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. This is what we believe he's doing for a living. Boom. Done, sentenced. So how do I go about that for officers? What I tell officers to actually document. One, document the existence of narcocultura. Based on your training experience, you know that narcocultura is a subcriminal culture that emanates from Mexico and the 300 and 800 regional mafias, transnational groups, blah, 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 just like I said. You know that in this subcriminal culture, there's various common elements that have been hijacked to symbolize something. For example, I just explained los tres animales. And then after that, that's when you start explaining something like the Rugrats. You know, based on your training experience, that there's a group that came from the destruction of the Sinaloa organization, which is called La Malliza. La Malliza is a group led by El Mallito Flaco, and right now they're 90% in control of Sinaloa, and they're one of the largest distributors of methamphetamine, fentanyl, cocaine, and other narcotics coming into the United States. You also know that based on your training experience, there's various different organizations, sub-organizations that make part of this group, one of them being the Rugrats. And you know that this subcriminal culture hijacks individual symbols to represent themselves. And that's when you actually go onto that list for me, for you as a law enforcement officer to recognize and identify these actual criminal groups. You go down the list that I just explained, and then boom, you know that based on your training experience, the use of the Rugrat, and in this case, 3 of them, you suspect that he was a member of the Rugrats, a Sicario group for La Malliza.
Dude,
that one,
this is good stuff. Yeah, this is good. I mean,
that
your
one
class changed my life, man.
100% that one. When somebody uses this, that is a completely different thing. That is just a no-no. That would just literally land you on so much hot water because you're using somebody's religion against them, right? We have the right to pray to an apple if I wanted to. If I wanted to, I could. Where are you? I can pray to my uncle right back there, right?
Yep.
Jesus Malverde, which, by the way, today in what I describe as Mexican Christianity. Mexican Christianity is a syncretism. A syncretism is when you grab one thing and you combine it with the other to get a completely different thing. In this case, the Roman Catholic belief, legends, myths, even popular culture. So today I've gone to, God, I said 7 or 8 different interviews of curanderas, healers, and they've all told me this thing, word for word. Jesus Malverde is a benevolent spirit that will help you in any type of addiction. Any type of addiction. If you're addicted to cigarettes, he'll help you. If you're addicted to booze, he'll help you. If you're addicted to girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, he will help you. Yep. So do not use anything like that at all.
Yeah, dude. No. I went to a buddy's house just recently, and they had Jesus Malverde, up. But when I just asked him, like, just picking his brain, and yeah, you're 100% right. It was, to just keep evil spirits out. And then they had some other stuff like, gambling debts, and that's just something that they wanted to just keep away. And so people have legitimate purposes and reasonings behind these things. So, now, it's unfortunate.
Have I actually investigated in various times where La Santa Muerte, the folk saint, canonized by the people, not by the Roman Catholic Church, and in fact, she's not a saint. She's death herself. That's what a devotee believes in. Fact. This is just one of example. This one.
Take it to your left. Take it to your left. There you go.
Take it to my. This one, I'm not going to say where it comes from, but it comes from a criminal episode. And have I worked the 1% of investigations? 1% in my experience, and of course, I've been now to 97 shrines, temples, santuarios, sanctuaries to the actual Oculto Santa Muerte. So I have seen both sides of the coin. Have I dealt with, in fact, a mass murder investigation here in Colorado that someone that's actually convicted now for 6 or 7 life sentences? Have I seen that they hijacked the belief for intended purposes of homicide, of cannibalism? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I talk about them in my class. But again, that is the 1%.
Yeah, dude. And that's what I think a lot of officers need to understand. You talk about a lot of great things. And again, it's things that we've been told by other people. And unfortunately, it's not the full picture. So, taking everything into totality, right? I talk about that in class. I know you talk about that in class. It's not just face value. It's a totality of the situation. I've sent you pictures, I've stopped people. Julian stopped people. I've known, obviously we work together, and we walk up to these cars and they have a towel, and then they have a La Santa Muerte seat belted in to the front passenger seat or the back seat. And it's like, that doesn't mean that they're doing anything criminal. That does not mean that they're cartel. But unfortunately, there's a lot of companies that are out there still preaching this crap. And, I think setting officers up for a lot of failures, and it's going to be some hard failures because they're going to be great cases, but then they try to inject, what we consider it's still someone's religion. You can pray to an apple, like you said, and they can pray to whoever they want. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily cartel. And I think that's just why a lot of young officers get jacked up.
10 to 15 people around the world actually use La Santa Muerte. That's right up there with the Mormon Church.
Yeah, you're saying 10, 15 million.
10 to 15 million people.
Yeah.
Million people use La Santa Muerte. Do you know how many actual, there was a study done last year, middle of last year. And that study actually gave us a number of how many actual members for transnational criminal groups, foreign terrorist organizations, and significant Mexican transnational criminal groups operate throughout the world. You know what that number is? Do you think you could? Well, how many do you think? How many? Give it a number.
I'm probably going to be well under 30 mil.
30 million? Not even that, dude. Not even actual. And I'm just talking about organizations that are reclassified as foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, and those organizations that work across international borders, meaning transnational. How many of those do you think? And millions is too much.
Yeah. I would probably put it in the ballpark 2,000, right? Because you have all the
100
splinter, you have the splinter cells. Go ahead.
175,000 people.
Wow.
175,000 people fly the flag, whichever flag that might be. Foreign terrorist organizations today, as the United States government called it, there's 6. And this is again, now you know the Sinaloa organization does not exist, but they named the Sinaloa organization and its splinter groups. They named the Gulf Cartel and its splinter groups. They named Las Cuatro Letras, CJNG, as a foreign terrorist organization. Carteles Unidos is now a foreign terrorist organization. Carteles Unidos is an actual alliance of various different smaller groups in the state of Michoacán. And then La Nueva Familia Michoacana, they're also a foreign terrorist group. Off of all the 300 to 800, that's it, just 6.
Wow.
And then from the bottom of that, we have what I call significant transnational criminal organizations. A significant group, let's say, would be the Juarez Cartel or the Tijuana Cartel. They're significant because they control a plaza. And in their case, their plaza is called also a toll cartel. Meaning, if you operate in Tijuana, if you operate in just south of the border from El Paso, you have to pay you have to pay the plaza tax. You have to pay the derecho de piso, the right for floor. And so that's what they call them, toll cartels. They are a significant transnational group because they also operate across the border.
Yeah, and then you have go ahead.
And then you just have actual transnational groups, which that could be a gang. Let's say, for example, the Artistas Asesinos, the AA, which operate in New Mexico. Yeah. And they're under a specific Mexican foreign terrorist organization, but they themselves are a transnational gang or criminal organization, whichever you want to call them.
So you talked about the plaza and like the plaza organization where they work on both sides of the border. Can you talk a little bit about plaza bosses? I know that was a question I had that someone wanted me to bring up.
So a plaza comes from the word jurisdiction. It's the literal translation. So if I was a police officer in Mexico, my plaza would be Mexico City. That would be my jurisdiction. Eventually, that was brought into narcocultura to refer an area of operation, an area of control. That is a plaza. The plaza system is down in Mexico when either a family owns a plaza or an actual organization owns a plaza, and that would be a plaza boss or a plaza commander. Now, while the plaza system operates in Mexico, the plaza system does not work in the United States. There could be various different organizations. Let's say, for example, in Albuquerque, there is definitely various organizations that operate in Albuquerque, and the reason they do that is because they know if they force their hand into that plaza, Albuquerque, they would see the hand of law enforcement, and it would just be, not successful for them.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Yes. That was a question that I had that came through. Someone wanted me to kind of cover. Now, with that being said, plaza bosses, are they in every major city, every major hub? Like, what's your experience or degree?
There could be multiple plaza bosses because there could be 2, 3, kind of like the tier. Some of them actually work together, but the majority of times, a plaza, an area of control, is definitely going to be controlled by a plaza boss, and then a regional commander. Commander will be regional commanders, like it says, a region. Let's say a region of interest would be, let's call it the Golden Triangle, between the states of Sinaloa, the state of Chihuahua, and the state of Durango. That's one of the most fertile areas in Mexico today. And a large production of, back in the day when it was the Guadalajara cartel, a big production of marijuana was coming in there. Now, obviously, with narcoeconomics coming into play, not just marijuana comes into the United States, which it still does, but now we have other, everybody knows other various narcotics. So the narcoeconomics has always changed the production down in Mexico. Whatever the demand is, these groups, these organizations, these highly advanced organizations will change with that demand. And this huge plaza, which incorporates 3 different states, can have multiple different bosses depending on where you are and who actually controls some of that area. The state of Durango right now is controlled by a group known as Los Cabrera, and Los Cabrera are a member of La Malliza. In fact, el Mallito Flaco, the leader of La Malliza, is hiding in Durango under the security of this group, Los Cabrera.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. That I actually didn't know that. So cool. I'm always learning something from you, man, all the time. So that's some good info, man. How do you think?
They always,
yeah, go ahead.
They always say that, and they, I mean by mostly analysts. The majority of time, they'll find that this subject, when you're talking about the splintering of the Mexican groups, is incredibly difficult to actually track because it happens it happens almost automatically. We were doing a investigation down south regarding a plaza boss. Now that you're mentioning a plaza boss in the other side of Arizona and Sonora, I'm not going to mention where, but this plaza boss was a member of a new emerging group that splintered out of La Chapiza. People should already know what I'm talking about. And that group is called Carteles Independientes de Sonora, Independent Cartel of Sonora, which actually is formed by 3 major groups. And within those major groups, there's other groups that actually form that. That's why this becomes incredibly difficult to track and really understand and put together.
Yeah, it definitely is definitely complex, very, very complex.
Yes.
What's your take on like what everyone talks about? Oh, I'm in a dry spell right now. Now I will tell you, like from what we're seeing on 40 and 25, 10, 19, all the highways and stuff that I work, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, all that jazz. Do you think it's slowing down? I mean, even in your investigations, do you think the dope's just slowing down?
I've been just in this one class in Arizona, I started giving out new second lines of distribution, second highways of distribution, second veins of distribution, whatever you want to call it, because those are becoming hotter. And the reason behind that is because of the law enforcement presence in major cities. So these hubs of distribution now are facing quite a lot of scrutiny by Border Patrol, HSI, ICE, and these individuals know this. So now they're using secondary routes of drug trafficking. And one of them actually goes, as you know, right through my front door, literally.
Yeah.
Highway 16491. So these are becoming incredibly hot right now. And there's one, I just came back from Missouri and I gave him the map of that one that goes from El Paso, actually from the center of Mexico, all the way to El Paso, all the way to Chicago, through these regions that if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it dries down.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the nail. I mean, shit, just a few weeks ago, I jumped up out of bed and I ran code. Was about 3.5 hours to your area. And we ended up stopping.
It only took me 45 minutes to get down there.
Took you 45 minutes. Bro, I'm telling you, man, running code for 3.5 hours, filling up 2 times. Yeah, I've done that a handful of times in my career, and that was one of them, man. That was a gas tank load. So, yeah, dude, crazy, man. Yeah, it's those back roads, and people ask me all the time. I literally got that question today. Like, hey, I work this small town. I think they were East Coast, I-95. I'm just off of 95. Like, which route should I work? And I'm like, man, work them all. Don't get focused on one route. One area. You got to work them all because they're gonna switch it up. And that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like they run counter surveillance just like we run counter surveillance.
Oh, you want to talk about counter surveillance? Even more
sophisticated? Yeah.
Counter surveillance. So CJNG, las 4 letras, right? The 4 letters. There were 2 actual main leaders. One is el Mencho, these singers that I told you about just last Saturday, how they were literally throwing it out there to them, to el Mencho. He had a son. His son is el Menchito. And he was just prosecuted this last summer in Washington, D.C. CJNG deployed counter-espionage and counter-surveillance units in our own city of Washington, D.C. to spy on DEA and spy on the FBI at that point in time during that court case.
Dude, so, yeah. Complexity. Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going up, against a multi-billion-dollar industry, you know, a threat. You know, they have the money and the resources to do that. And you know, I learned very quickly getting into interdiction, like what does a cartel member look like? And if you look at some of these movies like Sicario, like they don't look like that. They dress well. They're attorneys, they're doctors, they're just regular people that these cartels pay to just observe and report. So, you know, and it goes
And in
right back
some
to what I talked
cases,
about. Like you have to interview people. If you don't interview people, you'll never know some of this stuff.
and in some of these cases, when a cell, when a group, or technically speaking, it's called a estaca, not a cell. Estaca means a squad. So when a cell or a estaca sets up station in whatever town, whatever city in America, they're actually instructed to have get a job. So not only are they doing their covert work behind this image that they're putting out there that yes, I'm an innocent worker, I will do this, I do that for a living, and it's their cover. They've been taught, they've been demanded to actually do this as part of their cover jobs.
Yeah, it helps them blend in. You know, I
Yeah.
think it was what was it, North Carolina, just out of Fayetteville, with the two cops, and you remember that case? I think it was like in the Rolling Stones magazine not too while ago, but I was thinking like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't even think it was that long.
Oh, the American cartel, that one, the U.S.
Yeah.
cartel, what they were calling it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
I
man, like
remember. I
they
remember.
get intertwined, man, and you know, unfortunately, like you proposition someone that's in a bad situation with you know money, easy money, quick money, right? But you know, ain't there's no such thing as easy money. Like it comes with a consequence. Yeah, you know, you're gonna poison people to do evil and bad things, man, and
Yeah,
it's
and it's both
unfortunate.
sides of the coin. We a while ago now. A buddy of mine used to work, now works for HSI. He used to work for the state Colorado, state of Colorado. He did a traffic stop, huge student of mine, and it was a Mexican firefighter actually working in Chicago. So a Chicago firefighter, he was Mexican, and he was transporting at that point in time was 9 keys of fentanyl. So hidden in plain sight. That's what they do. They hide in plain sight because
Yeah,
they count on the fact that we can't recognize them
yeah,
because we're minding something like La Santa Muerte and we're skipping and we're forgetting about all this.
yeah.
And it's
And,
it's it's
and even
insane.
my first case where I arrested my first police officer, you know, like I don't talk about it a lot. I do talk about it in class, but you know, my first police officer, Gerald, you know, he worked in the Northeast region at that time. He was off duty, but when I made that arrest, bro, like that, like opened the horizon to like what I thought and what I knew to be interdiction, which I quickly learned that all the shit that I was learning, man, it was a lot of it was just fluff. People were just telling me, look for this, and yeah, they're loaded. And obviously, I learned going to like some great classes and some great curriculums. I learned that like, yeah, I had to slow that down, break those processes down. But man, my first police officer, man, I never would have thought in a million years I would arrest a police officer for drug trafficking. You know, he had 200 pounds plus of marijuana, and that turned into you know making sure that I always go through every single stop, man, and I'm
Yeah, yeah,
consistent with it, man, because you never know. You never know what
yeah,
they look like. There's no
absolutely.
such thing as what a criminal looks like, man. And a lot of the
Or what a
people I've
vehicle they
arrested,
drive.
yeah,
Or what
even
a
that,
vehicle
man.
they drive.
I'll tell you what vehicles I
I
don't probably stop anymore, man. It's the piece of crap cars that are falling apart, man. Now, granted, could they be loaded? Yeah, but in likelihood, yeah, I'm gonna go after the BMW before I go after the piece of crap Honda that's falling apart, black tinted windows and loud beat music. That's just me.
one of my last one of my last interdiction stops, and this is already God 7 8 years ago. It was a white hundred. It was $125,000 white BMW, 2-door BMW, and they were rolling all the way from California to Colorado with no license plate. It had the Perillo purchase tag in the back. You know,
Yeah,
this is a company that they own at Perillo, and that's it. Nobody pulled them over. No, nobody know. And two Mexican at that point in time Sinaloa operatives, little operating here in Montezuma County. And yeah, it's there's no uniform. There's no vehicle that they're only going to be driving. There's no yeah. It just let's not close our minds to an open field of targets out there because it is.
oh yeah, 100%, man. Dude, Victor, I'm glad to have you on the show. Glad to have you on here. A wealth of knowledge, man. I mean, I call you. We talk almost monthly, weekly, bro. I follow you in your group and stuff, and I know we're both actively busy, and we do work together. So a lot of people don't know that about us, man. But dude, it's definitely a pleasure to have you here on the show, man, and just
That's good
spread
to
that
see you,
good
dude.
knowledge, bro.
Yeah, that's the plan. Heading to, I'll be in New Mexico next month, and then I start classes in February next year. Marana, Arizona, going back there, and then let's see. I got a big schedule. Marana, Littleton, then the KNOA, so Kansas Narcotics Officers Association. I'll be in Louisiana. I'll be back in North Carolina. I'll be in York Region, Canada. I'll be in Georgia as well. I'll be opening for MVCI this year as well.
Hell yeah.
So we are, yeah, we're gonna be busy this year for sure.
Heck yeah, man. I'll definitely probably see you at MVCI for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely make
I'll
that
see
way
you
out there.
beforehand. I gotta invite you for that takedown. So
Oh, heck yeah, man. Yeah. Well, we'll see you for
yep,
that. We'll have some fun. Maybe
yep,
before Kofi retires, man. Kofi's getting ready to retire, so he's
yeah, yeah,
he's working on pause up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Heck
bet
yeah,
you.
man. Yeah. Thanks again for coming on the show, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate your homes. Be safe.
Yeah, man.